While everyone was watching Chinese EV makers, Maruti Suzuki just dropped something nobody saw coming. The company famous for cheap, reliable petrol cars just launched their first electric SUV, and people are losing their minds. The price has social media in chaos. The battery tech is raising eyebrows, and Tesla fans are suddenly nervous. So today, I'm breaking down the exterior design, the interior features, the battery technology, what it's like to drive, how it stacks up against the competition, and whether this changes everything for electric cars in India. Can a budget car brand actually compete with the big players? The quiet preparation. Let's rewind to understand how we got here. For years, the electric vehicle race looked like a done deal. Tesla dominated the premium market with their Model 3 and Model Y. BYD was flooding China with affordable EVs and expanding globally. In India, Tata Motors owned the electric space with the Nexon EV and later the Punch EV. MG, Hyundai, and Kia were all launching new electric models every few months. The future was electric, and everyone knew it. Except people kept asking the same question. Where is Maruti? The company that sells one out of every 2 cars in India was completely absent from the EV conversation. People made jokes. Memes circulated online showing Tesla building humanoid robots while Maruti was still thinking about whether to make an electric car. Automotive journalists wrote articles questioning if Maruti would miss the electric revolution entirely. Some analysts predicted the company would lose massive market share as buyers switched to electric. But here's what nobody understood. Maruti wasn't sleeping. They were watching. The company was studying how early EV buyers in India actually used their cars. They were monitoring global battery prices as lithium costs fluctuated wildly. They were testing different battery chemistries in Indian heat conditions that regularly hit 45 degrees Celsius. They were talking to their massive customer base to understand what regular Indian families actually wanted from an electric car, and they made a calculated decision. Instead of rushing to launch an EV that might have problems, they would wait until the technology matured and cost dropped. Then they would enter with something designed specifically for India. Not a global platform adapted for India, a ground-up Indian EV. The result of all this quiet work is the Evitara, and the moment it was unveiled, the entire automotive world did a double take. The outside package. The first thing that hits you about the Evitara is that it looks like a proper SUV. Not a jelly bean-shaped electric crossover. Not some futuristic concept that'll never see production. A legitimate, tough-looking SUV with actual ground clearance. And that ground clearance is critical. India's roads are wildly inconsistent. You might be driving on smooth highway 1 minute and navigating crater-sized potholes the next. Speed bumps appear without warning. Flooding happens during monsoon season. Rural roads are often unpaved. The Evitara sits high enough to handle all of this without scraping its battery pack, which is mounted underneath like in most EVs. The front fascia is clean and modern. Instead of a traditional grille, because electric motors don't need cooling like combustion engines, there's a smooth panel with a thin LED light strip running across the top. Below that are the main headlight clusters with LED technology. The overall look is purposeful rather than flashy. The body panels are designed to be aerodynamic without looking weird. Better aerodynamics means the car slips through air more easily, which extends battery range. But Maruti didn't make it so aerodynamic that it looks like a weird spaceship. It still looks like a vehicle you'd actually want to park in your driveway. The rear continues the clean design theme with a full-width LED light bar that's becoming popular on modern EVs. The bumpers, front and rear, are chunky and protective. If you tap a bollard while parking or brush against something on a tight village road, these bumpers absorb the impact. The whole exterior is built around a simple philosophy. Make it tough enough for real Indian roads. Make it efficient enough to maximize range. Make it normal enough that it doesn't scream, "Look at me, I'm driving an electric car," through to said space. Open the door and slide into the driver's seat. The interior immediately feels more upscale than traditional Maruti models. There's a large touchscreen infotainment system dominating the center of the dashboard. This screen handles navigation, music, phone connectivity, and vehicle settings. Below it are physical controls for climate control, because touch controls for AC temperature while driving is genuinely annoying, and Maruti knows this. The driver faces a fully digital instrument cluster. No analog speedometer here. Everything from speed to battery percentage to range remaining is displayed on a crisp screen that's easy to read even in bright sunlight. The steering wheel is wrapped in leather with controls for music and phone calls built into the spokes. One thing Maruti nailed is simplicity. Some EVs have so many menus and submenus that adjusting basic settings feels like programming a computer. The Evitara keeps things straightforward. You want to change the AC temperature? You turn a knob. You want to skip a song? You press a button on the steering wheel. Done. The seats deserve special mention. They're designed to be comfortable for hours because Indian families take long road trips. The cushioning is firm enough to provide support, but soft enough that you're not sitting on a wooden bench. The front seats have good bolstering to hold you in place during turns. Rear seat passengers get decent legroom and headroom. 3 adults can fit back there without feeling like sardines, though it's most comfortable for 2. One clever touch is the rear seat can fold down to expand cargo space. The trunk is already reasonably sized for groceries, luggage, or shopping bags. But fold those rear seats and you can fit larger items. Maybe you need to bring home a new refrigerator or transport some furniture. The Evitara can handle it. There's also a panoramic sunroof option. In India's hot climate, this might seem counterintuitive, but the glass is tinted to reduce heat, and when you open it in the evening or during pleasant weather, it makes the cabin feel more open and airy. Wireless phone charging is included, so you can just drop your phone on the charging pad instead of fumbling with cables. There are USB ports for passengers who want to charge tablets or other devices. Cup holders are properly sized for Indian water bottles. Storage compartments are placed where you'd actually use them. Everything about the interior screams, we actually thought about how real people use their cars. The power source. Now we get to the part everyone's really curious about. The battery. Because in an electric car, the battery is everything. It determines how far you can drive, how long the car will last, how safe you are, and ultimately how much the car costs. Maruti had to make some critical decisions here. There are 2 main types of lithium-ion batteries used in EVs today. NMC batteries, which stands for nickel manganese cobalt, pack more energy into less space. They're lighter and provide more power, which is why performance-focused companies like Tesla use them. But they're more expensive and more temperature sensitive. Then there are LFP batteries, which stands for lithium iron phosphate. They store slightly less energy for the same weight, but they're significantly more stable. They handle heat better, they last longer, and they're cheaper to produce. For India, with its extreme temperatures and price-sensitive market, LFP makes more sense. And that's what Maruti went with. But they didn't just buy off-the-shelf LFP cells and call it a day. They developed a sophisticated thermal management system specifically for Indian conditions. Here's why that matters. Batteries hate temperature extremes. Too hot and the chemical reactions inside speed up, degrading the battery faster and increasing fire risk. Too cold and the battery can't deliver full power. In most of India, cold isn't the problem. It's the heat. Summer temperatures in many Indian cities regularly exceed 40 degrees Celsius. Park a car in the sun and the interior can reach 60 degrees or higher. Without proper cooling, a battery would cook itself. Maruti's thermal management system uses a combination of cooling channels that run through the battery pack, sensors that constantly monitor temperature, and software that adjusts charging and performance to keep everything in the safe zone. Even when you're fast charging in peak summer heat, the system prevents the battery from overheating. This protection extends battery life significantly. Many EV batteries lose 20 to 30% of their capacity after 5 years. Maruti claims their LFP pack will retain over 80% capacity even after 10 years of normal use. That's the difference between a car that's still useful after a decade and one that needs an expensive battery replacement. Charging options are flexible. You can plug into a regular home outlet overnight, which takes longer, but works fine if you're just commuting daily. Or you can use a faster home charger that Maruti can install, which cuts charging time significantly. At public fast charging stations, the Evitara can charge from 20 to 80% in under an hour. Why only 80% at fast chargers? Because the last 20% of charging slows down to protect battery health. It's like filling a water bottle. The first 80% goes in quickly, but that final bit takes longer. Most people don't need 100% charge for daily driving anyway. Safety is built into every level. The battery pack is encased in a strong protective shell and mounted low in the vehicle's floor. This serves 2 purposes. First, it's protected in a crash. Second, it lowers the center of gravity, which improves handling and reduces rollover risk. LFP chemistry itself is inherently safer than NMC. It's far less likely to experience thermal runaway, which is the technical term for a battery fire. Even if individual cells are damaged, the design prevents problems from spreading. Maruti also partnered with Suzuki's Global Research Division and Toyota, with whom they share technology. Toyota has decades of experience with hybrid and electric vehicles. That expertise influenced the Evitara's battery management system. The result is a battery that's affordable, long-lasting, safe, and designed specifically for Indian conditions. No cutting-edge solid-state technology or exotic materials. Just proven, reliable, well-implemented LFP technology with smart thermal management. The driving reality. Specifications on paper are one thing. Actually driving the car is completely different. So what's the Evitara like when you're behind the wheel? The first thing you notice is the silence. There's no engine rumble because there's no engine. Press the start button, and the only indication the car is ready is the dashboard lighting up. You don't hear anything. This takes adjustment if you're used to petrol cars. But after 5 minutes, it feels completely normal and you realize how much nicer it is to drive without constant engine noise. Put the car in drive and press the accelerator. The response is instant. Electric motors deliver maximum torque from 0 RPM, which is engineers speak for. It goes the moment you ask it to. There's no turbo lag, no waiting for the engine to get into its power band, no delay. You press the pedal and the car moves immediately. This instant response makes city driving remarkably easy. Navigating through traffic, slipping into gaps, overtaking slower vehicles. All of it becomes smoother because the car responds exactly when you want it to. Around town, the Evitara feels light and nimble despite being a fairly large SUV. The steering is appropriately weighted. It's not heavy enough to tire your arms in traffic, but not so light that it feels disconnected. Parking is straightforward thanks to cameras that give you a 360-degree view around the car. The high seating position gives you a good view of surrounding traffic. On highways, the Evitara settles into a comfortable cruise. Wind noise is well controlled. Road noise depends on the surface you're on. Smooth highways are quiet, rough asphalt is noisier because there's no engine sound to mask it. The suspension soaks up bumps reasonably well. It's tuned for comfort rather than sports car handling, which makes sense for a family SUV. Hit a pothole and you feel it, but it's not jarring. The ride is firm but compliant. Acceleration for highway passing is strong. Need to overtake a slow truck? Press the pedal harder and the Evitara pulls cleanly into the next lane. There's no drama, no downshifting, just smooth acceleration. Range is the elephant in every electric car conversation. Maruti claims around 500 kilometers on a full charge under ideal conditions. Real-world range is lower in pure city driving with moderate AC use. You'll get close to the claimed figure because electric motors are very efficient at low speeds and regenerative braking recovers energy every time you slow down. On highways at higher sustained speeds, range drops to maybe 350 to 400 kilometers because you're using more energy and there's less stop-and-go driving to recover it. In hot weather with AC blasting, range drops further because the AC compressor uses battery power. In practice, most people charge at home overnight and wake up to a full battery every morning. Daily commutes of 30 to 50 kilometers barely dent the battery. You might charge once or twice a week for normal use. For long road trips, you need to plan charging stops. India's charging infrastructure is growing, but it's not as widespread as petrol pumps yet. Major highways have fast chargers at intervals, but you need to know where they are. Apps show charger locations and availability. Regenerative braking is another EV feature that takes getting used to. When you lift off the accelerator, the motor acts as a generator, converting the car's momentum back into electricity and storing it in the battery. This slows the car down without using the brake pedal. Maruti lets you adjust how strong this effect is. Set it to maximum and the car slows significantly when you lift off, almost like engine braking in a manual transmission car. Set it to minimum and it coasts more freely. Most drivers find a middle setting comfortable. On hills, the Evitara performs well. Going uphill, it doesn't lose power like some petrol cars do at altitude. Electric motors don't care about thin air. Going downhill, regenerative braking recovers energy while slowing the car, which is more efficient than burning up energy as heat in brake pads. Overall, the driving experience is smooth, quiet, quick when you need it, and easy to live with daily. The competition battle. The Evitara doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's entering a market with established electric SUVs that already have loyal customers. So how does it stack up? The Tata Nexon EV is the obvious comparison because it's India's best-selling electric car. The Nexon EV has been around longer, so Tata has worked out most of the early bugs. It offers decent range, proven reliability, and Tata's growing service network. The Nexon comes in multiple variants with different battery sizes. The smaller battery version is cheaper but has limited range. The larger battery version offers better range but costs more. In terms of driving dynamics, the Nexon EV feels sportier. It's more car-like than SUV-like in its handling. Some people prefer that. Others want the higher seating position and more commanding view that the Evitara provides. Where the Evitara pulls ahead is price and service network. Maruti undercuts the equivalent Nexon EV variant by a noticeable margin, and Maruti has over 3,000 service centers across India compared to Tata's roughly 500 EV authorized centers. If you live in a smaller town, getting your Evitara serviced is much easier. The MG ZS EV is the premium option in this segment. It's bigger than both the Nexon and Evitara. It offers more features, a longer range, and a more upscale interior, but it costs significantly more. The ZS EV targets buyers who want a premium experience and are willing to pay for it. MG's service network in India is smaller and concentrated in major cities. If you're in Mumbai, Delhi, or Bangalore, that's fine. If you're in a Tier 2 or Tier 3 city, service could be inconvenient. The ZS EV and Evitara aren't really direct competitors. They're aiming at different buyers. The ZS EV competes more with upcoming models from Hyundai and BYD in the premium electric SUV space. Then there's the Tata Punch EV, which is smaller and cheaper than the Evitara. The Punch EV is perfect for city use. It's easy to park, economical to run, and affordable. But it's cramped for families and not ideal for highway trips. The Evitara offers more space, more comfort, and more capability for buyers who need a proper family vehicle. If you're a single person or a couple just commuting in the city, the Punch EV makes sense. If you have kids and take weekend trips, the Evitara is a better fit. One major advantage Maruti brings is brand trust. Indian families have been buying Maruti cars for decades. They know service will be available. They know parts won't be impossible to find. They know the car will be reliable. That trust translates directly to the Evitara. People who might hesitate to buy an electric car from a newer or less established brand feel comfortable buying from Maruti. Maintenance costs are another factor. Electric cars are generally cheaper to maintain than petrol cars because they have fewer moving parts. No engine oil changes, no spark plugs, no complex transmission. But the Evitara takes this further. Maruti claims running costs are about 70% lower than comparable petrol SUVs when you factor in electricity costs versus fuel costs and reduced maintenance. Tata makes similar claims for the Nexon EV, so that's roughly equivalent. But MG's premium positioning means higher service costs. When you add it all up, the Evitara offers the best combination of space, range, features, price, and service accessibility for most Indian buyers. The Nexon EV is a solid alternative with a sportier character. The MG ZS EV is better if you want premium features and have a bigger budget. The Punch EV is ideal for city-focused buyers who don't need much space. But for a mainstream family electric SUV, the Evitara hits the sweet spot, the market impact. The Evitara's launch is bigger than just another electric SUV entering the market. It signals a fundamental shift in India's EV landscape. For years, electric cars were either expensive premium products or small city runabouts. There wasn't much in between. The Evitara fills that gap with a proper family SUV at a price that middle-class buyers can realistically consider. This matters because India is the world's third largest car market, and it's growing fast. Unlike developed markets where car ownership is saturated, millions of Indian families are buying their first car or upgrading from a small hatchback to an SUV. If a significant portion of those buyers choose electric instead of petrol, it accelerates India's transition to cleaner transportation. Maruti's entry also validates the EV market for other manufacturers. When the dominant player in a market makes a move, competitors pay attention. Expect Hyundai, Kia, Mahindra, and others to accelerate their electric SUV plans. More competition means better products and lower prices for consumers. The partnership between Maruti and Toyota is particularly interesting. Toyota is sharing their hybrid and electric vehicle technology with Maruti. In return, Maruti provides deep knowledge of the Indian market and massive manufacturing scale. This collaboration means future electric vehicles from both brands will be better and more affordable. Toyota is also planning to launch their own version of the Evitara in global markets, which could make India an export hub for electric SUVs. The localization of components is another big deal. Maruti is pushing to manufacture as many parts as possible in India, including battery packs. This reduces dependence on imports, lowers costs, and creates jobs. As battery manufacturing scales up in India, costs will drop further, making EVs even more affordable in the future. There's also a psychological shift happening. For years, EVs were seen as something experimental or impractical for Indian conditions. Range anxiety, charging infrastructure concerns, and high prices kept most buyers away. But as more EVs hit the roads and more people have positive experiences with them, perceptions are changing. When your neighbor buys an Evitara and reports that it's reliable, affordable to run, and easy to live with, suddenly buying an EV seems less risky. Word of mouth is powerful in India. Maruti understands this, which is why they focused so heavily on making the Evitara practical and dependable rather than flashy and futuristic. The charging infrastructure is improving rapidly. Every few months, new fast charging networks announce expansion plans. Highways connecting major cities are getting charging stations at regular intervals. Shopping malls, office complexes, and apartment buildings are installing chargers. In 2 to 3 years, charging anxiety will be much less of a concern than it is today. Government policy is also pushing in the EV direction. Subsidies reduce purchase prices. Lower taxes on EVs compared to petrol cars make them more attractive. Investments in charging infrastructure and battery manufacturing are creating an ecosystem that supports electric mobility. Some states offer additional incentives like reduced road tax or free parking for EVs. All of this creates momentum. The Evitara arrives at exactly the right moment to capitalize on this momentum. It's affordable enough for mass-market buyers, practical enough for daily use, and backed by a brand that people trust. If the Evitara succeeds, and early signs suggest it will, it could be remembered as the vehicle that made electric cars mainstream in India. Not the first EV, but the one that convinced millions of regular families to make the switch. That's a much bigger deal than just one company launching one car. It's the beginning of a transportation revolution in the world's most populous country.